And a happy Monday to you all. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a pretty good weekend. Tip of the hat to my Georgia Bulldogs who beat Texas. If you care about that, that's my team. I don't know what all went on over the weekend. I do know Donald Trump made French fries at McDonald's. Did you catch that? Donald Trump went and served French fries at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania. I don't know what Kamala did over the weekend. Not much, I'm thinking. You know, I pay attention to a lot of the polls. I really like to follow Rich Barris, the People's Pundit. I've told you about him before. I've been keeping track of Polymarket. You can go to polymarket.com. It's like an aggregate or it kind of compiles a lot of various polls and puts them together. And according to Polymarket, as I make this video, Trump is in very good shape. But fraud. I understand you have to put that in there, but I honestly believe that we're looking at a Trump, not just a win, but a landslide. That's what I believe. I could be wrong. That's what, if nothing else, my gut is telling me. But fraud. I get it. I understand there's always fraud. Although I will say that I have maintained on my channel that I believe Harris is going to be president. You may remember I've made this prediction before that I believe Joe Biden, no matter what happens in the election, I believe that Biden, I have maintained that Biden is going to resign and thus facilitate the first black president, black quote unquote, person of color, whatever, and female, which would add to his legacy, such as it is. He could do that now. He could do it after the election. I've predicted he will do it. I'm getting a little wobbly on that right now, and the reason I still think it may happen, but the reason I'm getting a little wobbly on it is because I've come to understand, both by doing a lot of reading and watching assorted news type videos, there is no love lost between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Of that I am certain. I don't believe that Biden wanted to get out of the race. I believe he was pressured by Obama, and I definitely don't think that Dr. Jill Biden wanted him to get out of the race. But I believe he was basically read the riot act by people like Nancy Pelosi and Charles Schumer and Barack Obama and said that you can't win. I believe he was set up. I think it's as simple as that. I think it was all by design. I believe that is the reason why they had a debate between Trump and Biden so early, so that they could basically throw Biden under the bus and showcase his mental ineptness. And that was really all they needed. Then it became clear to them and really to the nation, this man isn't competent. He shouldn't be president now, but he definitely shouldn't be in the race. And I believe they pressured him to get out. And I think he resents it. I think he's angry. I think he's bitter. I don't think he likes Harris whatsoever. So my prediction may not come true. Time will tell. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, we can talk about that later. I want to get to what I want to talk about today, what you read about when you started the video. Pardon me. I'm a little stuffy. I don't know what's going on. I want to reference for you a fantastic little article. It doesn't take long to read, and I'm going to link it down below. This appeared in the westernjournal.com. It was written by a woman by the name of Samantha Chang. I guess it's a woman. And the title of the article is Biden Guilty of Crime Punishable by Death, David Horowitz Declares. Now, David Horowitz, if you don't know, is an author. He's a conservative who was once a raging, flaming leftist, a big-time liberal, but he had a change of heart, a change of ideas, a change of philosophy, and now he is about as conservative as they come. And he has written a book titled "How." Let's see. Let me pause this. I got my wires crossed. Horowitz has written a book, and the title of the book is "Final Battle: The Next Election Could Be the Last." But he also wrote an article that goes along with some of the content in the book, which appeared in frontpagemag.com, and the title of the article is, "How Should We Regard the President's Treason?" He's not asking whether Biden has committed treason. He's coming right out and saying it, and he asked the question in this article, how should we regard Biden's treason? And this is what Samantha Chang is addressing on the website, the Western Journal. I don't want to read to you a few snippets from her article, if you'll bear with me, because I really think it's really relevant to what I want to talk about with regard to treason, which I'm going to get to in just a moment. But she writes, a former radical leftist turned commentator says that Joe Biden is guilty of treason for selling out the United States to foreign adversaries for piles of dirty cash. In an explosive commentary published Tuesday in Front Page Magazine, under the headline, "How Should We Regard the President's Treason?" David Horowitz says that Biden has betrayed the United States through his decades-long history of influence peddling, enriching himself while undermining and weakening the nation he is supposed to serve. This is Samantha Chang writing. Who is Joe Biden? Horowitz asks. The language we have been using to describe what has been happening to our country is so sanitized that the most fearless of our politicians and news commentators will go no further than wondering aloud whether Biden might be compromised by his influence peddling and side businesses with our enemies. Now, treason, under the United States Code, treason is a crime which is punishable by death, and it is defined thusly. Treason involves waging war and or giving aid and comfort to enemies of the United States. Do you believe Biden is guilty of treason? We don't see too many people charged with treason these days. Treason is punishable by death. I think that we've got mass treasonists in and around the Beltway in Washington and elsewhere, but we don't see a lot of people calling the word treason too often these days, do we? Chang continues, Horowitz, the best-selling author of Enemy Within and Dark Agenda, The War to Destroy Christian America, said Biden's treachery is obvious, but the Washington establishment and the corporate media have turned a blind eye to his betrayal. Quote from Horowitz, here is the blunt and clarifying way to put his activities of the last several decades. Joe Biden and his family have made themselves wealthy beyond their dreams by taking millions of dollars in bribes from foreign powers, chief among them our mortal enemy, Communist China. Horowitz writes this. The conservative activist said that Biden is enabling the destruction of the United States in numerous ways, including, get this, folks, number one, these are his treasonous acts, according to Horowitz. Number one, Biden is incentivizing the border crisis, which has led to the mass fentanyl poisoning of Americans. Number two, Biden has covered up the Wuhan lab origins of COVID-19. Number three, not holding China and Anthony Fauci, the longtime director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, accountable for funding the coronavirus. And number four, botching the Afghanistan withdrawal, which led to $7 billion in United States military equipment falling into the hands of the Taliban. 4 points of treason, Horowitz points out, and I agree with every point. If that isn't treason, what is? If you can't charge Joe Biden with treason, then you don't know what treason is. Is that not enough that he enriched himself by taking money from our enemy, China? I mean, just if he's guilty of just one of these things, which he is, that is treason. Folks, it goes beyond just impeaching him, for heaven's sakes. This requires more than just impeachment and conviction and removal from office, which of course is not going to happen. I get it. I understand that. That's not going to happen. It would happen if it were Trump, of course, but it's not going to happen to Biden. But Chang continues. Listen at this. In addition to his, according to Horowitz, she writes, what's disturbing about Biden's feckless encouragement of daily border invasions and the resulting fentanyl crisis is that, quote, these attacks have taken place without America's commander-in-chief issuing a single protest or threat against the governments of Mexico or China, even though his primary responsibility is the protection of American lives. Isn't it? Isn't that like your first duty? Chang continues, in addition to the inexcusable passivity to the border crisis, Horowitz said, Biden and other Democratic Party leaders demonized then President Trump whenever he called out the Chinese Communist Party for its role in stoking the pandemic. Horowitz writes, over 1 million Americans were killed by the coronavirus, a biological weapon funded by Dr. Anthony Fauci and America's Centers for Disease Control, and created in a Chinese military lab in Wuhan. The Chinese government lied about the contagious and deadly nature of the virus and permitted millions of Wuhan inhabitants to travel abroad for the Lunar New Year and infect the globe. He continues, immediately after the World Health Organization formally declared the spread a pandemic, President Trump barred Chinese travel to America. You remember that? An act for which he was viciously attacked by the leaders of the Democratic Party, including Joe Biden, who described Trump's precautionary travel bans as, quote, hysterical and xenophobic, fear-mongering, and racist. Trump did the right thing, and he got criticized and demonized for it by Biden, who, of course, had to bring out the R word. Well, this is just racist from Donald Trump. Donald Trump was trying to protect the people of America, which is the number one duty of any president, is it not? Horowitz said that Biden's egregious pattern of shielding foreign adversaries from accountability underscores that his allegiance is not to this nation. Is that crazy? You're the president of the United States, but your allegiance is to China, Ukraine, Mexico, or whoever's writing you the checks. But it ain't to the American people. Treason, anybody? Are we getting warm? Horowitz says the list of such cover-ups to protect the Chinese communist dictatorship is long and depressing. It includes the White House's stonewalling of congressional efforts to investigate the origins of the pandemic that killed 9 million people globally. It includes similar stonewalling on otherwise inexplicable blunders that turned Afghanistan and its hapless citizens over to the Taliban and China, along with 7 multi-billion-dollar air bases and tens of thousands of advanced weapons, and that made hostages of those who helped us during this 20-year war. Horowitz concludes his scathing indictment of Biden by saying this: we don't know exactly what American interest the president has betrayed to earn his ill-gotten wealth, but it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that betrayal is the appropriate verb to describe what he has done. His accusations, Horowitz's accusations, Chang writes, might sound harsh to some, but there are countless Americans who believe Biden is guilty of treason and at the very least should be impeached for his shameless refusal to act in the best interest of this nation. Amen, Samantha Chang. Count me in that group. This is treasonous behavior. Let me dig a little bit deeper just on, I mentioned 4 points of alleged treason that I think is absolutely treason. But I want to dig deeper into one of these points, which is the Afghanistan withdrawal. Now, let me go ahead and quickly say this. In my view, we got no business being in Afghanistan in the first place, okay? But that's another topic for another video. You all that watch me regularly know how I feel about American military involvement in places where we've got no business. Be that as it may, we had at the time an American military base in Afghanistan. Biden made the decision to withdraw. That's fine, but it's all in the how. How do you withdraw? This is what happened when Biden pulled us out of Afghanistan. Molly Hemingway tweeted this, pardon me, and she writes under the heading of unbelievable incompetence. Get this. Here is a small sample of the military hardware now arming the Taliban. This is the military hardware we left behind when we left Afghanistan. What they got from us because of our withdrawal: 75,000 war vehicles, including light and medium tactical vehicles, Humvees, mine research ambush protected vehicles, and armored personnel carriers. For example, the nearly 1,000 mine-resistant vehicles cost up to $767,000 each, and there's 75,000 of them. 208 airplanes and helicopters were left behind, including 20 A-29 Super Tucano attack aircraft. The A-29s cost $21.3 million each. Black Hawk helicopters were also captured, each costing up to $21 million. They got 208 of them, our equipment. 600,000 rifles, machine guns, shotguns, and howitzers were transferred to Afghan security forces, and 25,000 grenade launchers and 2,500 howitzers, the modern-day cannon. If you wouldn't call that treason, what exactly would you call it? If Joe Biden has not committed multiple counts of treason, what would you call it? But are we at a point where he's almost gone anyway and we're just going to wash our hands of it and just call it a wash and not do anything about it? The bottom line is, as you know, we have a uniparty, and Biden is good friends with people that have R's by their name, people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn of Texas, and good Republicans like this. They're not going to do anything to Joe Biden, folks, and we all know it. That he has committed multiple counts of treason just doesn't matter. But if a Republican like Donald Trump had done this, he'd be ridden out of town on the rails as he was done originally. He was impeached twice, if you remember, for piddling little things that amounted not to a hill of beans. But these are serious crimes of treason that put the American people at risk and killed a lot of us. Hello, fentanyl poisoning. Hello, border invasions. I remember you still, Laken Riley. May you rest in peace, sweetheart. This is treason. That's all there is to it. And if we had somebody who had the stones in Washington to do something about it, then something should be done about it, because Joe Biden should be charged with multiple counts of treason, and he should pay the price for same. Harsh? That's the law, is it not? But to the victors go the spoils, and to the winners and the owners go the keys to the justice system. Nothing would be done with Biden if only for the fact that it's Biden's Justice Department that would have to do something about it. And Merrick Garland, Lord knows, would never do anything like that. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear yours down below. Comment down below if you would. Make sure you like this video if you would, and subscribe to the Old Triple T channel. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you soon.